It is schedule release day in the National Football League, and it is what it is. They do the show this evening that releases the entirety of the schedule, and we'll get to that tomorrow. The process by which we get to that show, I'll admit, is a little bit silly, where we just leak a game here, send that leak out at 9. We'll give that out somebody at 11. Somebody can catch this at 1 o'clock, and we'll throw that out there. And it's just a slow drip all day, which is a little silly, but it's fine. It's completely inconsequential, so who cares that much? That's just my take on it. But fact is that scheduling matters. It matters how many times you're in prime time. It matters what your road schedule looks like. It matters when you play rookie quarterbacks. It matters when you play in the cold. It matters when you're on a short week and what kind of your travel schedule is for that. Scheduling does matter. And the NFL does its best to make everything equitable. And that's why if you're a bad team, you play what's supposed to be a bad schedule. If you're a good team, you play what's supposed to be a good schedule. We don't know until we know, but we understand that the Saints did not have a good year last year, so their schedule theoretically is supposed to be a little bit easier. I'm not here to tell you how good the Rams are going to be this year, how good the Titans are going to be this year, how good the Patriots are going to be this year. I don't really know. It's May. But I know what weather looks like, and I know what teams have rookie quarterbacks, and to me, that's the first thing that I would look at with the Saints. Now, for perspective with this entire segment here, we understand that the Saints are not the Drew Brees Saints anymore, that we're counting on getting in the shotgun and throwing it 52 times and hated going to the Northeast in December and January. It's a different team. And the Saints are now one of those teams that very likely has a rookie quarterback. So you're one of those teams that you're talking about, as opposed to being a consistent with the Brees Payton Saints, and you could count on being a significantly more prepared and better team than somebody who's trotting out a rookie quarterback in September. So this all doesn't matter as much with the Saints because we don't feel like at this point in the calendar the Saints are going to be a great football team in the fall, and we don't feel like they're a Super Bowl contender, and we're not trying to count every single individual win. It's more just kind of, okay, well, this is what we got to do. Let's go do it, and let's get a lot better in the process, right? But let's look at what the Saints have and see some of the things I'll be looking for with the schedule reveal tonight. Of course, you play everybody in your division home and road. So we toss the Falcons, Panthers, and Bucs games to the side. We'll see where they fall. The Saints will play the AFC East this year. They'll play the Patriots at home. They'll play the Jets at home. They will travel to two teams in the AFC East, Buffalo and Miami. They will play the NFC West this year. We know that. They're going to play San Francisco in the Superdome. They're going to play the Arizona Cardinals in the Superdome. Away, they're going to play the Rams out in Los Angeles once again, and they will also play the Seattle Seahawks in Seattle. The rest of the schedule is the Bears, the Giants, and the Titans, who the Saints play because they're a last-place team and you play other last-place teams. So that's the collection of 17 games. The first thing I'm looking at is, okay, where could it be really cold? And I say that actually based on experience from guys I've talked to who played in the NFL. Jeremy Hill and Brandon Taylor both told me the first thing they looked at is where we might go when it's cold. Because a lot of those dudes, those two included, who are right here from the 225, don't like it in the cold. And they're playing Brandon's playing for the Chargers. It ain't real cold out in San Diego at that point. So he sees something cold on the schedule, not loving it. Jeremy Hill, he's up in Cincinnati and New England for a lot of his career, so it's cold at a lot of his home games, but they look at that kind of stuff. So you've got really 3 games on your schedule that could be cold, 2 more so than others, and 2 that are probably 2 of the 3 coldest venues in the sport. You play the Bills on the road. Not great based on the opponent because they're really good, and the weather could be awful. And the Bears. And I've never been in Chicago in December or January. I'm not really planning on it. I've been to Chicago in May and been frigid. So those 2, especially with that game in Chicago being on the lakefront, those are games that could be really, really cold. It could be cold in Carolina. It could be cold in Nashville, but not to that extent. And then you've got Seattle. And I just think of Seattle. I'm not a Seattle weather expert here, but I think of Seattle as just it's going to be in the 50s and probably raining. It's going to be that if it's in September. It's going to be that if it's in December. That's probably wrong. It probably gets a little bit colder than that in December. But, I don't think it's going to be 41. I don't think it's going to be 28. Maybe it is. But those are your potential cold weather games. So you'd like to see those a little bit earlier. But that's just one piece to the pie. The thing that can be taken more seriously is the chance to play rookie quarterbacks in their first year. And yes, the Saints probably have one of those in Tyler Shough. He's probably your starting quarterback, so you're one of these teams you're talking about. But the Saints do have the Giants on their schedule, who drafted Jackson Dart. They have Jameis Winston. They have Russell Wilson. So maybe Jackson Dart's not the starter, and that's a moot point. But theoretically, that may be one, if you're actually thinking of it in those terms, it's probably more likely they've got a veteran starting early in the season, and more likely they got a rookie starting late in the season. And that Giants game is at home, so maybe you hope that Giants game is a December game in the Superdome where Tyler Shough's got a little bit of experience, and maybe at that point the Giants have turned the reins over to Jackson Dart for the first time or the second time. That's one to look at there. And then I think it's likely that you're going to play a rookie quarterback with the Titans, who, of course, took Cam Ward with the first pick in the draft. That's a game that you play away from home. If you want to have that one week 2 or 3, I think that would be fantastic. But that's really it as far as cold weather and as far as rookie quarterbacks. The rest of your schedule is pretty much right out there in front of you. So what has leaked to this point? And if you're curious, we do have a schedule tracker up at LouisianaSports.net as leaks continue to come out. Nick Underhill has reported that he believes the Saints will open with the Arizona Cardinals in the Superdome this year. You've got Kyler Murray, a very veteran quarterback there. But it is nice if Tyler Shough gets his first start. You'd kind of rather that be at home rather than in some, everybody's going to have a hostile environment in week 1 because everybody's fired up, everybody's 0-0. It might be an easier place for him to get his first start to do so at home. So I think that's a positive. How good are the Cardinals going to be? If I had to guess, I would say not great, but at this point, who really knows? The only other game that I've seen leaked and that we've got on our draft track, I've said draft twice, schedule tracker to this point is against the New York Giants. That's a week 5 game, likely at home. So that's just come out, and you look at that and you go, well, who's going to be the quarterback in week 5 for the Giants? At this point, no one could really tell you. You've got a coach that's basically on the hot seat. You've got a quarterback they drafted pretty early. You've got another quarterback that they have brought in that has kind of been testy everywhere he's been for the last 5 years. What the case going to be there with the Giants, I don't really know. But I know that that game is pretty early in week 5, and it's going to be in the Superdome. We don't have any dates for the Saints as far as road games go and leaked in the schedule. I say all that to sit here and go, as I analyze it, I'm not talking about you, the fan, and how you should feel. I'm talking about this just analyzing and covering the team. I don't know that all this really matters all that much to this Saints team. You've got to get your house in order before I start worrying about 17 other houses and when you visit their houses. So it's all about the Saints getting these draft picks into camp and ready to play, getting their quarterback up and running, getting that offensive line set up so that your quarterback can operate what Kellen Moore's asking him to do. And this year, it would shock me. It would shock me if the Saints are in a big-time spot to play important football around Christmas. And if that's the case, I'll be thrilled to be wrong. Thrilled to be wrong. It'll be a lot more interesting to talk about here. But this is basically one of those deals where, all right, just tell me where to go and we'll figure it out. Not going to spend a ton of time worried about, oh, you got to go to Thursday night on a road trip after you've come in on the road, or, oh, you've got a short week. You're a Monday, and they were a Thursday night the week before, so they've got a lot more prep time. And how many teams are coming off a bye as they play you? And I'm not there with this iteration of the Saints team. I think this time next year, I absolutely will be. I think it's reasonable this time next year to have hopes that your franchise is really moving in the right direction. But this is the transition year, quite literally. Kellen Moore's a transition. Tyler Shough's a transition. You're making a lot of moves moving into this year. And I think high expectations are not necessarily the prevailing emotion down here in South Louisiana. So, at this point, you watch the schedule reveal. If you're one of those that likes to go on a road trip with the Saints every year, you kind of find one of those. If you're a season ticket holder, you see what great players and teams are coming in and when. You already know who's coming in, when they're coming in. And then you worry about the Saints getting better. That's the most important thing for the Saints at this point. It's getting better. And that has nothing to do with when you play the Seahawks. So it'll be a massively watched television program tonight when they reveal the schedule. The NFL is an absolute powerhouse and continues to stay relevant every single month of the year. As far as the Saints go with the schedule reveal, just show me when it's over and we'll see where they're headed. I don't think it's massively impactful for the NFC South race as far as the Saints are concerned. Hope I'm wrong. That's just my take on the situation at this point. Hey, it's Hunt. Thanks for watching Hunt on Saints. Before you leave, help us out a little bit. Hit that like button, leave your comments in the section below, and hit that subscribe button so you get all our content right here from Hunt on Saints. We'll see you next time.